Call this meeting to order. All rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Don't have any visitors. Andy's off at the ball game and may report in, but we may be gone by then. I see the warrants have gone around. I don't know if they made it back to you, Joe, did they? Okay, so everybody, any questions on the warrants of Mel or Joan? Not having any, I'd ask for a motion on the city council meetings for January 29th, 2013.
Make said motion.
Motion made by Randy, second.
Second.
Yeah.
Randy makes the second, and Mel's
wanna-
got omission or correction?
Oh, no, I
right?
want to get rid of the question marks.
Question marks,
Joan writes the minutes, sends them to me, and I go through and review them. And anyway, I didn't get a chance to talk to Joan about that, but I was pretty sure that Vermont Gas did not connect people that were on fuel oil for free. I was just pretty sure of that. So I talked to Tim Lyons today. What it was that there was no upfront cost.
Right.
So what it should say,
Rental every month.
that's correct, all right? So that sentence that says, they will do the installations to properties at no charge for fuel oil users. It should say no upfront charge for fuel oil users.
Yeah, I had this highlighted as well.
Me too, I was,
Yeah.
and it's gonna cost still $600 for conversion?
The rest of it's fine, yeah.
Okay. Any other omissions, corrections, or errors? Excuse me. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Budget review.
I did a line-by-line review of the budget. One kind of minor thing that I actually caught, which was my fault when we bought about 6 or 7 boxes of envelopes just before the price went up by a penny. I went and charged that to police, and so you'll see a line item on page 3 where it says supplies, equipment, postage, where you see that the actual is $9,251. There was, the bill, I think, Joan, was a little over $3,000 is what we spent in postage. So that $3,000 moves over to a line in the middle of page 2 under where it says supplies, equipment, and postage, where you can see the budget is $10,000. We spent $37,000. So that $37,000 is gonna jump up to something closer to $7,000.
I was really looking forward to having that money roll over to next year too.
Okay, well, it'll roll. It's
I
just
know, not as much of it, right?
you'll notice that all of the agencies that petition for money have submitted their reports, and you'll if you notice on the bottom of page 4, you notice that all of that has been expended. So they all, I think, understand our system now with the contracts, submitting reports to us with the number of residents that they've served, and then we release those dollars. So that's the news on that. I tell you, I obviously if winter was over, it'd be just great, but I think the budget is in pretty good shape, at this point. We're at about the 2/3 point. We'll pay any bills that come in between now and next week, but, overall, it looks to be in pretty good shape at this point.
I had 4 items circled under general operations administration, one of which was supplies, which,
What-
but
Which one-
it
I'm
looks
sorry.
like, the fact that
Are
we
you in
have.
administration, Bill?
Yeah, administration, we still haven't hired an assistant for you,
Yep,
and hopefully we will, but there's gonna be a surplus there.
yes.
Looks like a custodian is pretty low. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, Carolyn was ill for a while.
Okay.
And so
So you're gonna do
actually,
that now too?
no, Carolyn's back, she's back
Oh,
to
she
work.
is? Okay.
So there was a period of time where, Yeah, we took care of the trash, and actually Tara Brooks, her duties expanded just a little bit by taking care of the lobby.
Okay.
In our bathrooms a little bit more often than she normally would, but
Okay.
that's why that one is there.
Okay.
Would you say something
And then the
about,
last one was the city attorney. There's not
Yeah.
much of an, I don't see anything coming down the road. Do you in the next 5 months or so, or is that?
you never know?
Well, I know, but still, it's been a pretty clean year in terms of
Yeah,
that.
you know, I don't know how to really budget for city attorney. You know, obviously, you know, if,
I haven't filed my suit for retirement money yet. So.
I mean, if we end up with some, you know, where would we spend money, you know? Some zoning dispute.
Yeah.
You know, if we had denied some
No, you got a
zoning
budget
permit.
for it, but if you don't spend it, that's great. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
and of course, the first time you
forward.
budget $3,000, you end up with a zoning dispute, you know, and it costs you $8,000. So,
Yeah.
but at this point, you know, there is a little bit of time. You actually have to beg Wilmette and Runcie for a bill, to be honest with you. You know, they do some work and they don't send you a bill until a particular project is over. And I know there's two things that represent that 8-10. One was an employment issue, and the other one, I think, dealt with a very early review of the purchase and sale agreement on the police station. I think that's all that we've had. No zoning appeals because the DRB hasn't met for 3 months because we don't have any applications. So if you don't have any applications, there aren't any appeals.
Okay, good.
How we doing on road salt?
I think
Probably
we're-
not a good day to ask for it, seeing how it's snowing out, huh?
Well, road salt.
I didn't
Mike,
have a
I
chance to
think
look at highway improvement.
56%.
Yeah, so road salt, we budget 50, we've spent 28, I can tell you, there's no bills in the folder, they're all been paid, so some of that 28,000 is sitting in the shed, all right, so,
We hope.
Next two.
it is, it's there, so,
Next 3 days, they're supposed to get hit by some stuff and
yeah.
then,
The winter equipment rental, what that is, we have Audette's farm truck down at the Public Works Garage, and we actually keep track of our own hours. I think we've had to use it only once, maybe twice, to clear snow out of the central business
I
district.
drove by there yesterday and I wondered why it was there, and that's why.
That's what we do.
Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
those
We,
will hold about 3 times what our dump truck will
Yeah.
hold.
yeah, and it makes it so that we only handle it once. We used to use Zig's parking lot years ago.
Well, you used it this past snowstorm.
Uh-oh, all right, well, sorry about
Gonna
that.
get a bill for that.
So where do you haul it now?
We just bring it down to the wastewater treatment plant here. But we don't
That's not
stockpile, we don't pick it up, put it here, move it over here, then pick it up and move it somewhere else. We only, in essence, we only handle it once, by doing it this
Could buy
way.
a rope tow and start a little ski area down there, actually. It's about 30 feet worth of snow.
Yeah. So they were stockpiling snows, they
Yeah.
obviously shouldn't be doing that, so I don't know.
No big deal. I mean, when I cleaned out the driveway, I kind of stopped the further entryway because it's dangerous when you got snow and people stepping out, parking cars, and people coming in, and younger kids doing wheelies. So I had it all piled there, and I have O'Brien do it. And then I went by the other day and I looked, and here's these big tracks cleaning the whole street right off, and they opened it up and pushed all the snow over in the.
So what they did is they took School Street. It's not like they took
No.
Central Business District snow
I don't
and
know where
brought
it
it
came
to your
from, but
lot.
School
So it
Street,
must have been
yeah. Yeah.
been just School Street, okay.
I mean, it happened,
Yeah.
and that's what it is.
Any other questions of Bill? If not, moving at a rabbit's pace. Anybody have anything as far as committee reports, update on goals or anything?
We have a Recreation Committee has a meeting scheduled for the 1st of March. We're gonna have a representative from Sojourn Bicycle Tour, and Marguerite Senecal, you said, will also be there to
Yep.
talk about some issues. I'd also like to bring everybody's attention,
First, but when?
March 1st.
March 1st.
Okay. that
Friday.
was- all right,
Friday, March
Okay,
1st.
I'm
Yep.
following.
And we're gonna, at that point, we're gonna set a time probably for a regular meeting, so we're gonna have regular scheduled meetings. The other thing, I know Joan sent around, I also received, but Joan also sent around this link to the report that the Middlebury College students did. Oh, you've got a nice bound one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
printed it out too, I've got it.
Yeah, it's really worth,
Read
if
it
you
all.
haven't seen it, it's really worth your time looking at it. I think there's some really interesting things in there. I really appreciate what they did for this community. and I'm gonna be contacting them to thank them. So at any rate, I think it's worth, no surprises in there really, but,
There's some
very,
good ideas, I think.
Yeah, I think
That
so,
might be
too.
worth pursuing.
Get it off the computer?
Shannon's doing
I
something,
just
right?
printed it
Well,
off.
Shannon has
with,
been,
link.
you know, the contact person with Middlebury College, and one of the things that we've been trying to do, and we will do this, you know, hopefully sometime in March, is, I mean, this is a really professional job. I wouldn't really wanna know what the bill would be to have a private consultant do this. This is
Top shelf.
thorough, quality work coming out of Middlebury College. So anyway, I told Shannon that, you know, they were going to, at one point come to, we had a planning commission meeting last night. At one point, they thought about coming to that meeting, but one of them, there's four students that are involved with this, plus the professor. And one of them couldn't make it, and, you know, and I told Shannon that really, in this instance, we should work around the student's schedule and not have them trying to work around the planning commission schedules or somebody else. Because the planning commission talked about this, and so Shannon's gonna work this out, and we really think that it deserves, you know, something special here.
Some
having
kind of a
meeting.
forum or discussion and presentation. Yeah, I
and-
agree. I
and
think so
there's a
too.
lot of things in here about that affects school, how kids get to the elementary school, and how kids get around. So we want to include school board members as well. So we want to do a little more than just invite them to a planning commission meeting and send them back to Middlebury, so.
Mel and I had talked about having them here for a council meeting. Of course, that'll be in March or later, but we want to do it in a manner, and whoever's the next mayor, hopefully they continue with that, to bring that.
Oh, yeah.
Bring those people in, bring the other people in, and do a good presentation and get it on camera so that the residents can see it as well. So, because it is a very, very thorough.
Yeah, just
package.
for folks that probably they're watching this on film, the title of this is called Cultivating Community Through Sustainable Transportation, Proposed Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvements in Vergennes.
We could, if you wanted to, upload it on the web, if that is something, at some point.
That's not a bad idea.
Or-
I mean,
or
it's
even
about
just-
40 pages long, but still,
I mean,
it's
yeah,
it can
but
be
it'll
done
just-
easily enough. It's a PDF. I
Yeah, it's
think, so.
PDF.
PDF, or
so-
you could just maybe link from the city website to that report.
Yep, just, somebody's gotta send Judy an email telling her what
Do
you
it.
want, and, I'm sure she'll try to get it worked in soon,
Good.
so.
No, I think they deserve a lot of credit, and it'd be nice to pursue a lot of those ideas.
Yep. Fantastic job. I started reading it, it's like, wow, all this information. This is really good. It's like, okay, how do we pull this off? How do we make this happen? It's,
Well, some of the recommendations that we've already done,
Yeah.
the Transportation Alternatives Grant was a big recommendation of theirs, which obviously we have done, so, or at least we're in the process of
Yeah, hopefully.
applying for it, right?
But it'll be good at budget time to kind of prioritize things and kind of try and get, look at the expenses that are needed there and so on, so.
Because I think you're right, Bill, one of the things that, there's a page of the recommendations, and that page is not in any specific priority order.
Yeah.
And, maybe that would
We
be a
should
good
talk about
topic,
that.
once we make the presentation, to go in and figure out, make some decisions about which ones we really should focus on, which ones might be eligible for grants, and,
Yep.
and, take full advantage of that report.
anybody else with any committee review?
Well, I mean, water tower policy, I've rewritten parts of it. I don't know if you ever got a draft. I thought I sent one before you went on vacation, but I think by next meeting or whatever, we'll have something that we can look at and discuss. I mean, it's
Okay.
just a matter of,
Not this coming Tuesday.
probably, no, we won't do that. I know that.
It'll be sometime in early March.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, just to let people know, all the agencies that have applied for funding through the city have been contacted, and everybody said that they will have somebody there to read their article. I am still going to do the scripts, for the council members, and if somebody doesn't show up, I will cue you when your turn is, okay? But you will have a script in front of you that shows you what your block is, okay? And I'll try to get that email to you ahead of time, so that if you wanna look it over, you have the opportunity, and I'll make sure that there's printed copies available to you the night of the annual meeting. So I'll have all that stuff prepared. So, but it'll be an email form to you to prepare. Remind the citizens and the council, again, dessert social, 6:30 at the Opera House on March 4th. And please ask everybody to bring a dessert to share. And I would appreciate that. So that's it. Go to public comment. No public to comment. So we'll go to old business, water tower fund policy. Bill, you spoke about that, and that is deferred. Bixby Free Memorial Library fund request, that's deferred. But I will mention that when I was at the gym on Saturday, ran into Jane Spencer, and she says, did you see the article? And it said something about the library closing, and that's not true, misinformation. So just put the word out there. The library isn't closing. They're just having to dip into the endowment to take and get restructured. They've changed hours.
They're increasing their hours.
Yes, they're trying.
I'm saying they're gonna increase their Saturday hours.
They're trying to do more, and hopefully that will excite things a little bit and bring more activity, and hopefully it'll bring some funding forth for them as well. But they're trying to keep up with the 21st century.
But I think we need to have that board come in at some point prior to budget to talk about where they're coming from and.
Right, Bill, part of the reason why we're deferring that is obviously the other towns, the other 4 towns that contribute money towards their budget are on a different budget cycle than we are. And so I think you've read some about that in the newspaper. And so they'll have that information after town meeting day. We'll have that information. And I think, I'm gonna say really April at the latest. So towards the end of March, sometime in April, have the board come in and they'll be able to give an update on the status of their budget, given other towns' appropriations.
One of the things that Mel and I have been talking about in the background, and just to maintain transparency here, is that we're both concerned about how people approach and get money. And so that might be a goal for the next council for 2013 and up through, to get a policy written that establishes a clear, defined way how people get funding. If it's, you have to go through the request process where you go out and get all the signatures, or are there other ways? Just because we want to make sure it's fair and equal to all.
Correct.
Even if you change your number, there's the rescue squad that is one set up.
Right,
I don't know if you want to speak to that.
But what Mike and I talked about is, one of the things that I think is important is we don't want any agency feeling as if the city council is being inconsistent. And by, in essence, forcing this agency to petition for money, through town meeting day, whereas there are a few line items in our budget and other appropriations that have been made that don't have to follow that. And just to use the rescue squad as an example, maybe the rescue squad is an entity that we appropriate for, just like we do for the fire department, even though they aren't city owned. The library, we own the library building, but it's managed by a board of trustees. So there may be some reasons as to why those are in the budget and don't have to go through others. But if you look closely at the budget, there's something that's like, well, how come that one's done that way? And so
we still own that building? I was gonna ask you that. Because since they were a 501c3, I didn't know if they
Yep.
took the building back
We
Or
still
not?
own the building. We acquired the building, as you know, Bill, in December 31st, 1971.
Yeah.
And the deed is an interesting read. It was transferred to the city, and it is the city's forever. However, and we can't deed it back. We can't use it for collateral, but we must deed it back if requested by the Board of Trustees. So it's like I say, it's kind of a unique deed. It also has
It's
a
like a
clause
one-way
that,
deed.
it also has a clause that clearly states that management and control of the library rests with the Board of Trustees. And in that deed, it states that the Board of Trustees agrees to appoint someone to the Board of Trustees as designated by the City Council. I mean, I know that sometimes we feel like we're appointing a trustee. We really don't appoint a trustee. We designate someone, and they appoint a trustee. So, you know, like I say, it's an interesting read. You know, I wasn't here I wasn't working for the city in 1971. I guess my understanding, it was an interesting conversation about how we ended
Well, it
up
had to
with
do
this
with
payment.
taxation, I think.
I believe that is
Yeah, 'cause
exactly the
my father
case.
told me about that, but.
You know, they had an endowment, and, you know, I think that the exemption, if you will, for the income on that endowment was threatened to be lost because of change in IRS code, and I think that's why it transferred on December 31st of 1971.
So
But, you know,
again,
libraries are, you know, if you look across Vermont, they're all over the place about how they're owned and run. So it's not like Vergennes is the odd one as to how its library is taken care of.
either have uniformity or at least have it documented on how things are run so that everybody understands.
Yeah,
You know,
I think it
'cause
makes sense.
We,
Yeah.
we were talking about the partnership now, does the partnership really need to be an arm of the city and therefore be part of it? Or whatever, but there's a bunch of ways to solve problems and make things work. So, enough about that, I guess. So, city manager's report, Mel.
Micah, we did speak about this. The other, I don't really have a lot. I've been away here for a week, Mike, but, you know, one of the things, just to let folks know that we did win our appeal of I did file an appeal for our common level of appraisal. And they did make the adjustment that I requested them to make. And so our CLA is 104.58, which, you know, it's hard to say whether or not that's good news or bad news. I mean, I can tell you, if people are real concerned about their property values, it's kind of bad news, because we did reappraisal April 1, 2007, and based on the last 3 years of sales, it shows that our assessments are 104.58% of fair market value. So if you're selling, it's not good news. Relative to how that affects taxes, however, here's the good news, is when the legislature sets the non-residential rate, for example, if they set that at $1.36, because our assessments are at 104%, people with non-residential property, you take the 1.36, you divide it by 1.04, you end up with a number like 1.34. So you feel like you're getting a discount against the state rate. Now, having said that, if any of you have been following what's going on in the legislature, and I don't have these numbers memorized, but I think that currently the base homestead rate is 87 cents. Is that right, Bill? Does that sound right?
Today.
I know it's going.
They're raising them up like 2 cents a piece.
Well, the thing that VLCT said, it was gonna go to 94 cents, from 87 to 94, and I don't know where that's all gonna land, but the point is our CLA was at 101.01 or something like that, rising 4%, which makes you feel like maybe everybody's gonna get a 3% discount in their education taxes. Well, if it takes 94 cents to buy you the same thing you used to buy at 84, there went that 3%. So it'll be interesting, watching the legislature and it's my understanding that the education fund is in a little trouble.
Well, I
You know.
think they were anticipating like a 4.5% average increase in budgets, and it ended up being 5.5. So they had to go back.
So that's
in
on
and
the expense side.
On the expense side, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So anyway, we scratched and clawed on that. That's that news. I really don't have any, the other items I have, Mike, obviously, I'll just defer to those. I don't really have anything
Okay.
new to report.
Yep, okay, and the other stuff we gonna cover down later anyways. New business, Encore. Mel.
Yeah, if some of you are thinking, gosh, didn't we just deal with this last meeting? Why is this on the agenda again? The reason why it's on the agenda again is at the last meeting, we really talked about being a part of a 500 kW facility. And a 500 kW facility generates about 750,000 kilowatts per year. Our wastewater treatment plant uses about 360,000 kilowatts a year. So obviously, you know, for Vergennes to be involved with a 500 kW facility, we need to be with someone. And that someone can't be just anybody. It can't be like, you know, BF Goodrich or Country Owned Products. It needs to be a school or a hospital, or, you know, there's a list of potential customers, if you will, of Green Mountain Power that are eligible. So I did investigate at the elementary school as to how much electricity they used. I think I calculated they used around 120,000. So the point is that our wastewater treatment plant, coupled with the elementary school, doesn't get us even close to the 500 kW, to the 750,000. So that, the thought about getting all of the electricity that we purchase at the treatment plant with that discount by being, in essence, connected, not literally connected, but somewhat connected with a net metering agreement to a large facility, it would work. Yeah, it just doesn't work. So what I've been doing, I've actually met with both Encore and Sun Common, and what the Encore is, it would be to construct, if you will, a 149 kW facility on land very near the wastewater treatment plant. If you head down the wastewater treatment plant, there's a knoll up on the left that is large enough, according to Chad, to accommodate. He believes that it can accommodate 149 kW facility. What that facility does, it generates about 200,000 kilowatts a year. And the way that it works is a net metering credit agreement would allow the account, in this instance, the wastewater treatment account, to receive 10% of the generation by that facility. All right. Now, if the solar facility has I think it's a 6-cent adder. So if the going rate is 14 cents, 14.6 cents, and the adder is 6 cents, that equals 20.6 cents. So in essence, the 20.6 cents is, with that adder, is what the value of that electricity is. And by us hosting that facility, we would receive 10% of that credit, if you will. So 10% of the 20.6. The other 90% pays for the facility. Right? And so if you take 200,000 kilowatts multiplied times 10% of 20.6, it equals $4,120 a year. And to me, that's a nice, simple way to have a solar facility, and it's an after the meter deal. So, and there's no land lease involved with 149 kC. It takes that 500 kW facility to be paying $10,000 a year for 3 acres, and it's just a very different structure that you've heard about in Ferrisburg. So that's what I've come up with on the Encore side, and that's why I've given this a different letter to you, because it is a different concept, if you will, than what I showed you a few weeks ago. I also met with John, I wish I could remember his last name, from Sun Common, and what we're looking at is, because the wastewater treatment plant uses 360,000 and we can use 200,000 kilowatts in the credit, there's that 160 that's sitting there bugging me. And so possibly when you go into the wastewater treatment plant, there's kind of a lawn area to your right where there's a couple of willow trees that should be thrown away. And you could put some kind of a facility there. John said the idea of putting these structures on the roof of the wastewater treatment plant, probably not a good idea, because it's just not really designed for that. And, you know, if you're building a new facility, then probably you would design that in, but the idea of putting that on there might not be the best idea. So that's the other part that I'm working on, but it's a very different arrangement. It's really more like a super residential deal. It's kind of, even though it's not on a roof, it would be before the meter generation. So in that instance, we would actually get, I mean, you have to lease in essence, you're making payments on the equipment. It's like a homeowner, and I think because of the adder, there's still some advantage to doing it, but that's the best that I'm able to come up with to get the most credit out of this program.
Are
Now,
there be a similar savings, do you think? Have you been able to calculate that?
well, if let's say, on that account, if 149 kW generates 200,000, and we use about 360, you got 160,000 less. I'm not so sure that I've got room for 110, all right, but maybe a 60 or a 70 down there, something short of it. So we won't end up with making every kilowatt that we use at the treatment plant, eligible for the credit. But
I take it these are fixed and not tracking?
they do track. Yes, they're fixed, Mike. I'm sorry when you said.
So those that don't know what fixed or just fixed photo
just-
set at an angle.
They just
and
face southeast.
They don't move. Tracking actually have devices
Turns.
where it actually tracks and tips in relation to those sun to gain the maximum
So these are
efficiency.
panels we're talking about
Yep.
putting down there.
Yeah.
What are you talking roughly about?
Photovoltaic.
What's that again?
But how many panels, like on one side?
I don't. I wish I knew, but they're 3x5 panels, and you're talking about like how much of that lawn.
Well, how many, you talking 50, 100, 150, or you have no idea?
I really don't, Zig. I don't. I know that that entire lawn area would be consumed by panels.
Wouldn't have to mow it.
And the side hill.
Yeah, up on that knob. And that's just wasted land.
Yeah, no one's- that's- yeah.
There are some trees that need to be cut down because the south side of that piece of property has some scrub trees up there that would need to be removed to get full value out of the solar. So,
I'd wanna make sure that we gotta check, see if there's a glare factor anywhere in the neighborhood that's gonna cause a problem.
Okay.
Randy was first, Randy's after.
Yeah, and just looking through the agreement, I was wondering, the term of the agreement, if there was a final agreement, is 25 years, and I'm wondering what guarantees that there are, because this company may not last 25 years. And since they take care of, in this thing anyhow, take care of everything, so if they go belly up, who takes care of everything? I mean, how is that all?
well, they're tied to a bank. And I believe one of them's Wells Fargo, one of them's Citibank, because Suncommon is connected to one bank and Encore is connected to another. So they're tied in, banks are the ones loaning the money here. And, where the check goes, it's guaranteed back to the investor. I think that Encore is really more of a facilitator than the capital, the one that's putting out the capital. Because of the,
Go ahead.
Now, by signing this letter of intent means we're on board with it, or we're moving in that direction to be on board with it?
it would be the latter. The letter of intent is basically, by signing the letter of intent, that shows, that we're obviously interested in doing this deal. And they would then engineer that site and make sure that the bankers would put forth the capital to do the project, all right? So they won't do the engineering without a letter of intent, all right? So you need to, but you'll notice in here how this letter of intent is not binding. There's
Yeah, that-
statements in here.
There's a paragraph right on the
Yeah, I
first
mean,
page.
it's, you know, it isn't something I wrote, it's, so it's not, this does not bind the city in any way.
Do we need to make a motion to have this happen, for you to sign the letter?
Well, at the last meeting, I guess
Gave him approval.
there was a motion that was granted. But I brought this back to you because it's really different than what I submitted to you. So to me, I think the council
We'll react on it.
needs to take
We'll
action
take-
again.
all right, we'll take
on
action
this.
again, but
Yeah, just a question, I want to follow up on Randy's question about, since, who owns these? It's not us, right? It's the Encore.
bank.
Well, it is Encore.
Right.
They own it.
So,
There's an option to buy.
right, but the question I have, again, is about maintenance, if the company does go away, who would maintain the equipment?
Can you get a performance bond of some sort, or some kind of a guarantee at some point, I guess? I guess it'd be worth investigating that.
Well, keep in mind that we're only getting 10% of the electricity, all right? It's the 90% that takes care of the bank. So we're just kind of coming in on the coattails of.
Use our piece of land.
It's like the wind.
That's really
wind
what it
turbine
is.
Over at Northland. Green Mountain Power did the upfront money, 100%. But they're getting 90% of the energy at no cost.
Very similar deal.
And
Yeah.
Northland is getting 10% off their bill of what that is produced.
Right.
So,
Same, it's exactly the same.
so,
Makes sense, yeah.
So
go ahead.
I make a motion that we allow Mel to continue to negotiate with Encore.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
No second.
Joe will make the second. Just to let you know, Sun Common, they are also doing house installation. They're doing one next door to me
Oh, yeah.
right now.
They're in my living room this morning. So,
Yeah, they're on a mission to do 1,000 panels in 100 days or something like that. There's
100
some-
panels in 100 days or something like that, yeah. Well, believe me, it's taken them 3 days to do the neighbors, or 2.5 days to do the neighbors, so. I don't know how many panels they're gonna have up there, so. Got a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, letting, Mel continue with us, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Carry on, Mel.
The next item, I don't know if this is Joan's or mine, but this is something that we do every year. And I don't know where's the original, Joan, if that's the one that the mayor has? Okay. So what this is it basically seals the 2012 grand list so that, and I can assure you that there are no appeals, there are no suit pendings on any of the assessments for 2012. And the law allows towns to file a certificate, which in essence seals up the 2012 grand list, and you can't seal it up until February 1, I think, right, Joan? I think that's the early.
February.
Okay, so there, first, I stand corrected, all right? So, because obviously you have your grand list as of April 1, and the listers, with the approval of the city council, can make changes through December 31st. And obviously, none of that happened. And by sealing it, if there is an error found, no one can come back against the city for some error that got uncovered once the city council and the board of listers sign the certificate and file it with Joan.
Okay, so we just need signatures, right? Or do we need a motion, John?
original somewhere, we're passing it right now?
Joan says she's got one.
Do you need a motion? You want a motion?
I do.
I'd ask for a motion to pass this certificate. Who did? Who made it?
Ready?
Rennie made the motion. Ziggy seconds it.
Yes.
Rennie made the motion and Ziggy seconded it. Discussion? Hearing none?
And we have 5 lines for 6 people, which,
No problem.
So a couple of you are
I'll
gonna
write
have
it
to
on the bottom of the
share.
page. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, humping right along. Wow, I just can't believe the time. Preparation for police station bond vote information meeting. Mel, you're gonna take lead on that one, right?
Well, or Rennie, you know,
Rennie?
you know, there's
Yep.
obviously been, some, work being done here in between meetings, and maybe Joe, you can talk about what you've done. Rennie, can talk about, the work that we've done relative to the mailer and getting that out.
Joe and I proposed a letter to the editor, op-ed, whatever you want to call it. It circulated around between the two of us and Rennie and Mel, and has been submitted. It will be appearing, it's actually live on the Eagle website now, be in their edition next week, and it'll appear in the Thursday edition of the Independent.
Did they do did the Eagle do the correction also?
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah.
Great.
And it's gonna hopefully make a lot of sense to the public about what we're up against.
Hopefully, I hope, hopefully it encourages people to think about it and attend the meeting next week, if nothing else. Yep.
You know, it's a quick aside, I was at Bristol today talking to Bill, the town manager. Brian. And he said, what do you think's gonna happen? I said, I don't know. But he said they had done a study 4 or 5 years ago in Bristol for their police department, similar size to Vergennes. He said they recommended 5,500 square feet. So he said, you're not crazy. I said, well, thank you. We didn't think we needed it, but it was good to hear that.
As far as the informational meeting, I kind of envision it pretty much as the meeting that we've already had, the informal meeting, similar, with some upfront presentation. I thought I had seen something that went around where there were photographs that taken of the old station.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but.
Well, send it to me, because it would be nice if we started a presentation maybe with a little slideshow of what the current facility looks like. And then start talking about what the new facility is, and talk about the new facility and the rooms and why the rooms are there. Because if I get any comment about this, it's people saying, do you need that much of a building? And I have to go into, and then some may know about Heinsberg, and they say, well, Heinsberg is this, and I have to say to them, look, Heinsberg doesn't even meet minimum requirements for a police station. They have one holding cell. You really need to have 3. You have to have one for males, one for females, and one for juveniles. You have to have 3, not just one. And I said the design, if you look at theirs, is really not up to contemporary standards. So they must be in a situation of saying, well, anything's better than what they've got currently, so this is what they're going with, but it certainly is not up to standard. And so I think we need to, during the informational meeting, in the presentation portion of it, begin to answer questions before people even need to ask the question, because they're going to ask about the rooms. We ought to tell them what the rooms are for and why they're there, and then go from there.
I'm curious about in terms of the Heinsberg building, which I'm sure people will be comparing our building to. I'm curious about the caseload of their department, and the type of community they are, more of a bedroom type community, not a. They don't have a downtown. It's not a kind of a, well, like the word Mel uses is full service community. It's not, it's a completely different demographic than what we have in Vergennes. And I'd be curious about their caseload and how that relates to their needs.
Right. I don't know if they, Heinsberg, I mean, we can certainly get a hold of a Heinsberg and a report, but what I don't know is if whether or not Heinsberg does a similar report that we do as it relates to incidents. But I'm sure that Heinsberg is connected to Spillman or whatever you want to call it. I mean, they can run the report for us. I would think, and maybe that's a good idea, Joe. I can have George speak to Heinsberg and have them run that,
At least have the
run that
numbers to
report.
look at, yeah. They're bigger geographically, but
Yeah.
population-wise, well, they're bigger that way too, probably.
Well, you know, sometimes bigger means less calls, you know, I mean, when people are living on top of one another, that's part of the problem, you know?
Again, I'd be curious about the socioeconomic status of Heinsberg and Chittenden County as a better community of Burlington versus Vergennes, and the kind of, I don't wanna say threats, but the kind of, issues that their department faces compared to the issues that our department faces.
Plus, it seems to me, it seems like this station attempt is like the second station they've had. I thought they had, years ago, kind of a small situation like we have. And then there was a station that was a house that they took right beside the road there and by where the fire station and everything else is, as a police station, and now they're going for this other one. And if that is so, there's an example of, if you don't plan ahead, you do it more than once. You know?
I believe that the issues that the school board is going through with their bond really, I mean, one of the most common complaints I've heard is we should be paying off the first bond before we go for another bond. Well, here's an example now. I don't want to be coming back in 10 years if I'm still on the board and saying we need, our first one isn't quite paid off, but we need more room, you know?
I would rather do the advanced planning like we've had.
Right.
And try to be somewhat intelligent about our decisions.
Part of the, I don't wanna call it an issue, but challenge in doing some sort of a slide presentation here is owning the equipment to present that. The fire department does have a laptop, and they do have a board that you can show off or transmit to, and it will display what you want.
Is
if
this
you're
gonna
gonna
be
put
big
some-
enough, do you think? If
What's
we have
that?
Is this gonna be a big enough facility if we have a good turnout?
We did, I mean, we can back it up. I mean, we can go all the way to the
Yeah.
thing, and we can put, yeah, I think so.
I mean, I guess I never really thought where we'd have it. I mean, I know the chief said,
See, we don't know if the.
you could always
opera
give a
house-
tour of the existing facility if
But-
the Opera House.
but- That's been thrown out there. Rennie mentioned it. I mentioned it to chief about doing that, and I don't think anybody's biting on it.
Okay,
So I think the next best thing, if you can't take the horse to the water, bring the water to the horse. So take the pictures, like you're saying, put together some sort of a PowerPoint slide presentation, and either put captions below, and either tuck and turn, have one of, however you wanna do it, Rennie. I'm not sure if you're gonna be the one to do it, or Mel, is maybe do that station, and then do the next, and then do the new police station, or show one, the old, and what we need for the new one, and see how they kinda match up. So,
well, no one questions the need. I think that's pretty,
no, but like Rennie says, it's really good to thoroughly explain and answer the question before it's asked, in most cases, is, okay, here's the lockup, okay? And here you are showing a chair,
Yeah, right.
chair bolted to the floor. Get a good photo
Yeah.
of that place, and, take it from the chief's office, so you realize that, chief's right there. And if you're gonna talk about investigation rooms, interrogation room is the chair, can be the chair, and also in the next room, so you got in hearing distance. I don't know how you present some of that, in a photo, but verbiage can kind of play it, so,
The locker room is the lobby,
yeah.
I mean, it's.
Bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, if people have never been in there, I think they'd probably be startled at
And
what we have.
I think you said, like, a picture is 1,000 words. And as long as it's done right and can do on some sort of presentation, and they have a computer, and I'm sure that with the right finesse, they'll let you borrow it.
And even if we can end up doing it as like a PowerPoint presentation, even if the photographs were taken and we had large photographs that people could look at least they could get an idea of what the existing conditions are.
I'm just thinking of timing and printing to try to turn some packages in around. You don't know if you need to
Well,
print
yeah, a
one
PowerPoint
or
is-
500.
Yeah, a PowerPoint is underway, it's not completed, and I think, it shouldn't be difficult to add some pictures to a PowerPoint.
No, it's not.
And for some reason, I was thinking that bread loaf or somebody had sent around some
That must have
pictures
been George. Had to have
of
been
the
George.
existing facility.
There was supposed to be a trifold, I thought.
I did, I saw, maybe at our meeting, we got
What was that
pictures
one that
at
you
our,
were saying
I've never
about
seen it.
pictures?
no, I'm not talking this meeting, I'm talking about our meeting.
Committee
That's what's got mailed out.
Oh, I
but
seen
there
it.
was no pictures of, there was no pictures
How
of
did,
existing
how did we
conditions.
make out in those test holes? You were gonna have it tested or the land over there, or did you?
Well, that report is on my computer, because I did pull a trigger on having Lincoln Applied Geology do their phase 1. And I believe that I believe that's on my computer. I wasn't here last week, so, but I was able to speak to their representative the day before I left, so I've got that, I'll share that with you. I haven't had a chance to read it.
Okay. So, who's doing PowerPoint? Is that something you're doing or George?
Oh, yeah,
doing?
well,
Are
it's
you-
it's between us, George and I, and some assistance from Bread Loaf, we'll have that.
Okay. So you want any help with that, or?
Well, let's see where we got,
I don't know who else wants to have a finger in the pie. Or.
And we must have extra pamphlets left, right, for distribution?
Joan would know,
I don't know. That's what I said to Melissa. They
Oh,
should
the
have left
police did it,
some
we had
in
the
our
police
office.
stuff in envelopes,
Yeah,
so I wasn't here.
they're in
Because,
your
because
office.
if we don't, hopefully we can get some more for not only that informational meeting, but for the annual
Annual
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah, they ordered.
There should be
plenty. It
more,
was
I
like
know,
750.
we had 750, I believe that there was somewhere, I'm gonna say somewhere between 500 and 600 that were
Yeah.
mailed, so there
Yeah.
is
There's
some
many
left over
left
somewhere.
over.
None of you got yours, that was,
No, they didn't.
we thought about it, we should have brought them to you, but,
I know.
yeah.
I got
You got one mailed to
I
you?
got one in the mail.
How did that happen, Joan?
I
Who
did
had
not
the
have the
keys?
keys.
Who had the keys?
That's funny.
The employees,
So your
we
name
ripped
on it, or
them,
was-
You'll get them with
was
your
your wife's?
paycheck.
Both of our names. It must have been from
It's
the
your tax
taxes.
bill, yeah, absolutely. Huh.
So I can get
Lobby
mine in my
guy.
paycheck, Joe?
Who had the
I'll
keys?
get mine in my paycheck?
Yeah.
Good.
Those
Paycheck.
come out at the end of March.
Yeah, and, just remember, I leave on the 8th, so I'll need it prior to the 8th. Oh, okay.
How come you're quiet about your vacation?
Right
Would you tell
after the
everybody about mine?
29th. We'll deal with it. You lost it last time.
I know, but I won't this time.
Should have let you go on that one.
I know. Boy, I don't know how I did that.
You didn't
Okay,
even-
anything else, anybody? If not,
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Randy made the motion, Ziggy seconded it, all those in favor?
Aye.